The Human Security Officer, Part 60. Pen walked a few feet back to her companion, Gareth, who stood just inside the doorway of Leeds Dead, the bar they had just left. "You good?" she asked, her voice low but steady. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little shaken, but I've had practice dealing with situations like that lately, so," he trailed off, still processing what had just happened. Chips, the bartender, piped up from the other side of the bar. As things played out, he'd been making his way back from a nearby table. "No need to worry, little fella. You weren't in any danger. Nothing happens in my bar that I don't want to happen. Spacer squirts like that are all talk anyway." "I appreciate it," Gareth replied, his voice shaky but grateful. The tension in the bar faded quickly, and the patrons who had stood during the confrontation reclaimed their seats, murmuring and laughing among themselves, the atmosphere returning to its usual liveliness. After a long moment, Pen cleared her throat and spoke again. "Well, it was nice to see you, Chips. Might be some time till I come back around, so you take care, all right?" "You too, Pen. You'll always have a chair here, as you know, whenever you do come through." "Same to you, Mr. Gareth. Hell, I've been seeing more and more types lately. Maybe I'll have something you can actually drink next time." "That means a lot." "I wish you well." Gareth nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. As the two exited the bar, Gareth spotted the three spacers loitering by the other end of the alleyway. He thought he'd see a menacing look on Pen's face, but when he evaluated her expression, still a conscious effort, she barely gave them more than a passing glance. The walk back to the main floors was mostly quiet. It wasn't awkward. Gareth felt no need to fill the empty air. Instead, he enjoyed watching the architecture shift from the worn, older structures back to newer, more modern iterations of design. The contented silence was interrupted only once, and not by either of them. As they approached a corner, an elderly woman stood in their path. Her gaze followed them, a strange glint in her milky eyes. She croaked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't worry, child. You'll be fine." "What?" Pen slowed, looking at the woman with confusion. Gareth glanced around to see if she had been speaking to someone else, but it was only the three of them there in the dimly lit alley. "Were you speaking to us, miss?" he asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. "I suppose," the woman replied, her gaze unfocused but somehow knowing. Pen laughed, a light sound meant to dispel the oddness. "He's not a kid. He's a Waylan, like an alien species." "Well, that part was directed at you, young girl." "All right, haven't been called that in a while. Are you okay?" Pen studied the woman closely, noting the wiry gray hair that was poorly kept, sticking out at odd angles exaggerated by her crooked posture. Her clothes looked handmade, woven with care, while her jewelry seemed crafted from leather strips and colored glass beads. "Oh, I'm already past it. Lost what I lost, saw what I saw," the woman replied, her voice a mix of weariness and wisdom. At the mention of sight, Pen realized the woman's posture was partly because she was blind. As if sensing Pen's thoughts, the woman brushed her hair aside, making her clouded eyes more visible. They resembled milky glass orbs, and her attention never settled on anything in particular. "I'm sorry you've lost your sight, ma'am," Gareth said softly. "I appreciate the sentiment, little rescuer, but I see just fine." She motioned with one bony hand toward her clouded eyes. "They serve their purpose. You'll be the same way, girl. Need what you need till you don't need it. Losing what you need in the use of it for what it's needed for, but then there's no need for it. So, it's all right. You'll be fine." Pen felt a chill run down her spine. The first comment she thought to let pass, old women said odd things all the time. It could have been a fumbling of words, the ailments of age. But what the woman just said lingered in her mind, refusing to be ignored. She looked at the woman again, realizing she was far more than a peculiar figure on the street. She scoffed, but Gareth spoke first. "Miss, I'm not sure I know what you mean." "Don't pay her any heed, Gar. She's a soothsayer. A soothsayer? He asked, his brow furrowing in confusion. A person who claims to be able to see into the beyond or whatever. Which is it, lady? You talk to the dead? Or is it the future sight for you? Maybe starbeams shine cosmic knowledge upon you? Nothing so dramatic, young miss. I'm just a dumb blind old woman, that's for sure. The woman laughed, her voice a melody of mirth. Well, at least you can admit it. What? Gareth looked to Penn for an explanation. She makes her living by pretending to know things with some mystic power or whatever. She tells people what they want to hear, and they buy it because they want to hear it. A dead relative wishes them well from the other side, or there are good things coming in their future. That kind of thing. Is that true, miss? Gareth asked, genuinely intrigued. Oh yes. Plenty of people who want to hear something specific and plenty of others willing to say it. Plenty of people who know things. Plenty of people who don't. Her attention landed squarely on Penn as she finished her sentence. Really, we're still trying to sell the bit? I don't have any money for you. Did I ask for money? She cocked her head to the side, a faint smile on her lips. Penn rolled her eyes as the woman continued. But I've said what I wish to, and you have things to get to, instincts to listen to. Keep well, young miss. You too, little rescuer. Whatever, Penn muttered, not willing to entertain the woman's nonsense. The only instinct she was listening to right now was the one telling her how full of it this lady was. With a huff, she started to walk off. Well, I'll be following my companion, but I apologize for her rudeness and wish you well, Gareth said politely, trotting off to catch up to Penn. The woman called after him. Oh! Remember not to lock your arms. It'll hurt a hell of a lot less. Penn scoffed again and made a point of quickening her pace. Don't respond. She's just trying to pull you in. She was interesting, Gareth said, glancing back at the woman. That's one word for it. With that, the two fell back into silence, but it wasn't long before they met up with Deeg and a few other crew members in the main open plaza. How are you two? Deeg asked, his tone brightening as he approached. All right, Gareth spoke, still processing the bizarre encounter. I got a very interesting look at human culture. A few aspects, actually. You? Deeg nodded, excitement in his eyes. You'll have to share. I was actually quite fascinated to see how human technology fulfills the same needs as any other species, but its construction varies, as expected. I've always found it funny how every species curates its tech for its own comfort and ease of use. He started to trail off, speaking to no one in particular. 5 fingers. What a difference, almost envious, then again. Penn stopped listening, though. A chill ran up her neck, her instinct sharpening. She looked around, her heart racing as a warm tension gripped her abdomen. What was it? There was something wrong. She could feel it, but she couldn't pinpoint why. Her pulse quickened, and her body prepared itself for action, whatever that may entail. Every signal she knew to listen to was tripped. Every alarm bell in her subconscious was ringing. Faces. She needed to scan the faces around her. She didn't know why, but that was a question for later. For now, something flashed through the lens of her eye, through the cones, through nerves and gray matter and synapses all the way to the very core of her brain. It felt just like the bomb planted in the ship. She begged her mind to let her be faster this time. She pushed for subconscious recognition to move into conscious understanding. Citizens walked by, smiling and engaging in colorful conversations, their clothes vibrant and varied. Blue eyes, brown eyes, a yellow poncho. Nothing felt right. Guards stood posted, relaxed but vigilant. Weapons hung or were stowed. One guard caught her eye, but he offered a respectful, unconcerned nod. Still, nothing settled her unease. She did her best to hide her alert state, but it seemed she was the only one on edge in the entire area. Deeg noticed her, though, and stepped closer, concern etched on his face. "Pen, you good? Everything all right?" "It would seem so, but," he pressed, his voice steady. "I don't know. I'm on edge. Something isn't right, but I can't tell what. I've got a bad feeling." "All right. Well, the ship should be ready to set out. We can get everyone together and head back?" "Yeah. I'll go check the ship. Get everyone there. I apologize in advance if this is just nothing. Better safe than sorry, especially with recent events." Deeg didn't need to finish his sentence. Pen may not have heard it even if he did, as she was already headed back to the ship, desperately trying to dig up the little alarm bell ringing in her mind. She searched every person's face as she went, but nothing clicked, and she received a number of odd, insulted looks in return. Back at the ship, now in stellar condition after recent repairs, she went up and down the halls, checking rooms, ducts, and the cargo bay. Not a single meter of the ship escaped inspection, but all was clear. She found nothing wrong. People filtered back to the ship, and the unease Pen felt began to fade as her crew members returned, their chatter filling the air with a sense of normalcy. Thwill walked up as she watched the crew return, a smile on his face. "Your people's technicians took a bit to get past the unfamiliar design, but once we got going, they were as good as I've seen. Deeg says we're to jump away sooner rather than later." "Yeah," she replied, trying to shake off her lingering worries. "You all right?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. "Yeah. Tired, I guess. Maybe just eager to get going. I'm going to head to my room, but would you let me know when Deeg gets back?" "Certainly." "Thanks." Pen walked through the cargo bay and onto her room, rubbing the worry from her face as she went. She entered her room and sat down on her bed with enough force to cause her challenge coin to slip off her pillow and into the covers. Her challenge coin. Had she really left it out? That wasn't possible. She'd never placed it on another surface. It only ever went from her lockbox to her hand and then back. Leaning over, she fished the coin out of the sheets and flipped it in her palm, the familiar weight grounding her. The swoosh of her door pulled her attention, and she looked up to see Gareth in the doorway. "May I?" "Yeah," she replied, feeling the tension seep away just a bit. Deeg is extricating zealous Tunny T from an equally zealous group of biologists. I figured I'd check in. Make sure the lights were all green. Did I get that right? Yeah, she blew right past the colloquialism, still distracted. "Hey Gareth, did you take my challenge coin out of my lockbox and leave it on my bed?" "No!" "You know I'd never mess with your stuff without permission. Besides, when would I have been able to? We were together the whole time on the station, and before you ask, I highly doubt anyone else would just waltz in and do that." "I know, it's just..." She flipped the coin over again. The engraved three-headed dog stared back at her, worn and worried. She frowned as she noticed a chip in the metal. It clicked. This was a Fireteam Cerberus Challenge coin. But it was not her Fireteam Cerberus Challenge coin. Her heart raced as she shot up, raced over to her lockbox, and threw it open. There it sat, her coin, untouched. Slowly, she pulled her coin from the box, the weight of it familiar yet heavy with realization. Turning to Gareth, she held both coins up, the glint of metal shining in the dim light. Their confused attention was redirected when the door opened again, and Deeg walked in, already speaking. "Thanks, Thwill. Hey Pen, I know we should talk about a few things, but on the way back, I met a friend of yours. He had to sprint, but he wanted me to give you this little pager. Wanted to be able to talk even if he couldn't in person." As Deeg handed over the small device, Pen felt a rush of emotions, curiosity, dread, and a hint of excitement. "Who?" she asked, her brow furrowing. "Just a guy named," Deeg started but was cut off by the sudden buzzing of the pager in her hand. Her heart raced as she recognized the familiar tone, a melody that felt both inviting and ominous. She knew the sound. It was a call to action. Gareth took a step closer, his gaze flickering between her and Deke. "What's happening?" "Nothing yet," Penn replied, trying to steady her breathing. "But this could mean something." Deke crossed his arms, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Should we be worried?" "I don't know," Penn admitted, glancing between the two of them. "But I think we need to find out." "Then let's not waste any time," Gareth said, determination lighting up his features. As they left her room, Penn's mind raced. The encounter with the soothsayer, the strange feeling in the plaza, and now the pager buzzing with potential. Something was shifting in the air, and she could feel it deep in her bones. They made their way back to the main deck, the hustle and bustle of the crew filling the space with energy. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, but Penn couldn't shake the sense of urgency that had taken hold of her. "Deke, can you get everyone together?" she asked as they stepped into the busy corridor. "On it," he replied, already moving to round up the crew. "What about the coin?" Gareth asked, his brow furrowing. "Do you think it's related?" Penn shook her head. "I don't know. But it feels significant. I just wish I knew how." The two exchanged glances, a shared understanding passing between them. Whatever was unfolding, they would face it together. "Let's stay alert," Gareth suggested as they headed toward the bridge. "Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out." "Right," Penn agreed, her heart steadying with each step. Together. As they entered the bridge, the energy shifted. Crew members took their positions, preparing for whatever might come next. The familiar hum of the ship filled the air, a constant reminder of their home in the stars. Deke returned moments later, accompanied by several crew members, each one ready to hear what Penn had to say. "All right, everyone," Penn began, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "I know things feel normal right now, but I have a bad feeling. I want us to be prepared for anything. We need to stay vigilant." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the group, their expressions reflecting a mix of concern and determination. "Are we expecting something?" one crew member asked, crossing her arms. "I don't know, but I've learned to trust my instincts," Penn replied, her voice steady. "And right now, they're screaming at me." Deke nodded, stepping forward. "All right, everyone. Let's do a full systems check and keep an eye on our surroundings." "Penn, Gareth, what do you want to focus on?" "I think we should check the sensors, see if there's any unusual activity nearby," Gareth suggested. "Good idea," Penn agreed. "Let's also review any recent communications. If someone is trying to reach us, we need to know." The crew moved with purpose, each member taking on their assigned tasks. Penn and Gareth settled into their stations, the familiar rhythm of the ship wrapping around them like a protective cocoon. As the minutes ticked by, Penn's anxiety began to settle. They were a team, united in their mission, and that strength gave her confidence. Gareth leaned closer, his voice low. "Do you think it's really something, or are we overreacting?" Penn shrugged, glancing at the screens displaying sensor data. "I can't say for sure, but I'd rather be safe than sorry." "Agreed," he replied, his gaze lingering on her. "Besides, you've saved my life more times than I can count. If you feel something's off, I'm with you." She smiled at him, grateful for his unwavering support. "Thanks, Gareth. That means a lot." Just then, a beep from the console interrupted their moment. "Penn, we've got a reading," Deke called, urgency creeping into his voice. She turned her attention to the display, her heart racing again as she analyzed the data. "What is it?" "An unidentified ship has entered the vicinity," he replied, his brow furrowing. "It's moving erratically, and it's not responding to our hails." Penn exchanged a glance with Gareth, both of them feeling the weight of the situation. "Are they armed?" "Can't tell yet. They're not showing up on any of our regular scans," Deke said, tapping the console for more information. "Let's get a visual," Penn ordered, adrenaline flooding her veins. "On it," Deke replied, turning his focus to the ship's cameras. The display flickered as a feed from the external cameras came online, revealing the unknown vessel. It was small, sleek, and clearly not built for comfort, its sharp angles designed for speed and maneuverability. "What do you think?" Gareth asked, leaning closer to the screen. Penn narrowed her eyes, analyzing the ship's silhouette against the backdrop of stars. "I don't know. It looks like a smuggler's ship, but it could belong to anyone." Deeg's voice broke through her thoughts. "I've got it on long-range sensors now. It's definitely armed, but it looks like they're preparing to make a jump. Can we intercept?" Penn asked, her heart racing with the thrill of the chase. Deeg shook his head. "Not unless we get closer. We have to risk being in their firing range." Gareth crossed his arms, a thoughtful expression on his face. "What if we send out a signal? Let them know we're not a threat, see if they respond?" "That could work," Penn agreed. "But we need to be careful. They might be in trouble or looking for trouble." Deeg nodded, quickly sending out a message. "Signal sent," he reported. "Now we wait." Tension hung in the air as they watched the ship on the screen, waiting for a response. Penn's mind raced with possibilities. Who were they? What did they want? Minutes passed, and just as she began to feel restless, the unknown ship suddenly stopped. "It's slowing down," Deeg observed, his fingers dancing across the console. "Are they responding?" Penn asked, her heart pounding in her chest. "Not yet," Deeg replied, his eyes narrowed in concentration. "But they're definitely not moving to jump anymore." "What's going on?" Gareth asked, his voice tense. Penn shook her head, her instinct screaming that something was wrong. "I don't like this." Just then, the unknown ship lit up with activity. "Get ready for anything!" Penn shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. Suddenly, the ship fired a warning shot, bright and blinding against the darkness of space. "Shields up!" Deeg commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding. Penn's heart raced as she felt the ship respond to their commands, the shields flaring to life around them. "What the hell are they doing?" Gareth shouted, his eyes wide. "Let's try to communicate again," Penn urged, her fingers flying over the controls. "Maybe they're just scared." Deeg sent out another message, desperation lacing his tone. "Unknown ship, this is the starship Cerberus. We mean no harm. Please respond." But the ship remained silent, its engines revving in preparation for a possible attack. "Brace for impact," Deeg shouted just as another shot rang out, striking the shields and sending a jolt through the ship. Penn felt her body slam against the console as alarms blared around them. "Status report. Shields holding at 70%, but they're charging another shot." Deeg yelled, frantically trying to counter the attack. "Do we have any weapons?" Gareth asked, panic rising in his voice. "No, we're not armed for combat," Deeg replied, his eyes darting between screens. "We're primarily a transport ship." "Then what do we do?" Penn asked, feeling the weight of the situation settle on her shoulders. "Keep trying to communicate," Deeg ordered. Penn took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus. "Unknown ship, please respond. We're not your enemy." Just as she spoke, the other ship fired again, this time hitting their hull. The impact reverberated through the ship, rattling her bones. "We need to get out of here," Gareth shouted, his eyes wide with fear. "Agreed," Penn responded, her mind racing for options. "Deeg, can we jump?" "I need a few more seconds to calculate a safe jump," he replied, his fingers dancing over the controls. "Then we'll hold them off," Penn said, determination flooding her veins. "Hold off what?" Gareth asked, bewildered. "Just trust me," Penn snapped, quickly formulating a plan. "If they want to fight, we'll give them a distraction." "What do you have in mind?" "I'll create a decoy. If they think we're still here, we can make a jump while they're distracted." Gareth's eyes widened. "Are you insane?" "Maybe." Penn shot back, adrenaline fueling her decision. But it's our best shot. Before he could argue, Penn activated the ship's holographic projectors, creating an illusion of the ship still sitting in place. "Now!" she shouted. Deeg's fingers flew across the console, and the holographic projection shimmered, creating a convincing image of their ship, complete with running lights. "Okay, I think it's working," Deeg said, glancing at the unknown vessel. "Let's hope so," Penn replied, her heart racing. "Now, Deeg, initiate the jump." He hesitated for just a moment before nodding. "Jumping in 3, 2, 1. With a jolt, the ship leapt into hyperspace, the stars stretching into streaks of light. As they emerged into a safe area of space, Penn felt a wave of relief wash over her. "We did it!" Gareth exclaimed, the tension in his shoulders easing. "For now," Penn replied, her heart still racing. "But we need to figure out who that was and what they wanted." "Agreed," Deeg said, shaking his head in disbelief. "Let's gather everyone and debrief." As they left the bridge, Penn couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was just the beginning. Something was out there, and it was only a matter of time before they crossed paths again. The ship buzzed with activity as the crew regrouped, the air filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. "All right, everyone," Penn began, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "I know we're all feeling a bit rattled after that, but we need to focus. Deeg, you've got the floor." He nodded, stepping forward. "What we just encountered was unexpected. We need to determine the ship's identity and their intentions. We also need to review our security protocols. I'll run a scan for any anomalies," another crew member suggested. "Great idea," Penn replied. "Let's work together to figure this out." As the crew fell into motion, Penn felt a sense of unity among them. They had faced danger before, but this felt different, like they were on the precipice of something bigger than themselves. Gareth stepped closer, a reassuring presence by her side. "You did well back there, Penn." "Thanks," she replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. "But we're not out of the woods yet." "True," he said, glancing around the bustling crew. "But we'll face it together. That's what makes us strong." As Penn watched her crew work tirelessly, a flicker of hope ignited within her. They were a team, bound by loyalty and courage, and whatever lay ahead, they would face it as one. In that moment, Penn knew they would uncover the truth. They would find the answers they sought and protect each other, no matter the cost. And as the stars twinkled outside their ship, she felt a sense of determination settle within her. This was just the beginning of their journey, and she was ready to embrace whatever challenges awaited them in the vastness of space. Together, they would soar into the unknown, united by their shared purpose and unwavering resolve. With a final glance at the stars, Penn felt a rush of anticipation. Their adventure had only just begun, and she was ready to face it head-on. As they continued their journey through the cosmos, the ship buzzed with energy, each crew member playing their part in the intricate dance of exploration and discovery. And in the depths of space, beneath the infinite stars, their destiny awaited.